Hey guys, a bit of a different one today. This video will be for you if you've got a loan against your own home and you've got at least one investment property as well. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last 12 months or so, you would have noticed the interest rates have increased. I'm in the same position as a lot of people. Before the rate rises, I had a property that was putting money in my pocket every month. I didn't think about the property too much. I've owned it probably 5 or 6 years, 6 years I think. Didn't think about it too much until it started costing me some money. Then I started toying with the idea of selling it, and I put some numbers together and the results were pretty surprising. I mean, putting 20 grand back in my pocket per year, surprising. In this video, we're going to go through this spreadsheet of how I got this 20 grand, and hopefully it'll give you some insight as to what you can do going forward. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to do is just explain to you that this spreadsheet I put together here is based on my overall objective, which is to basically restructure my investment portfolio. I'll actually go over it to show you how I'm thinking, but I'll actually show you how I got to the 20 grand figure. As you can see here, I've got a basic rundown of income and expenses. Rental, I'm getting $20,800 per year, including all the costs on the property. It's costing me about $6,800 per year at 6%. So the rates are going up a little bit, but let's just roll off that figure. One thing worth noting is I've put in 2.5 grand for repairs. Actually, the last 12 months, it's cost me a lot more, but the previous few years, almost every year, it hasn't cost me very much at all. So I've averaged it out to about that $2,500 mark. What it's costing me once I get my tax back is $4,642. That's how much I'm out of pocket by holding this property. The next part of the spreadsheet is what's going to happen if I sell this place. So I've got some figures around there. Sale price around 600. Agent is a bit more conservative than what I am, but let's just roll with this for the case study. I've got some selling costs in there. I've got my cost base, which is basically what I bought the property for, plus the stamp duty that I paid for. I've got the profit. I've calculated my tax payable on there as well. So that's just for my information of, obviously, I've got to figure out how much money I got to pay the tax man if I sell the property. So I've got the figure here, funds left over after the loan gets paid out. So I got 241 grand there. So what's interesting to know is that cash I was originally out of pocket, that 4,642, once I get my tax back, is not all I'm saving by letting go of the property. If I put that 241 grand back down onto my loan, onto my debt against my property, I'm actually saving the interest on that. So that's $14,495. So put that together, that's $19,137 extra cash I've got per year. So that's at the top of the video where I said I've got pretty much 20 grand extra cash per year. That's what I'm talking about. Obviously, if you've got 20 grand cash per year, that's putting you in a very good position. I'm going to go into actually what it looks like if I go back and restructure and buy a negative geared property. But I've got the example of one property here, but I actually did the example if I was to purchase a second property. So for the case study, I've just picked a place, an actual property I looked up online, which is in Sale, Victoria. I'm not saying I'm going to purchase there, and at the end of the day, I probably wouldn't. I think it's great, got some great long-term prospects, but the short-term, I'm not so sure about. So basically what I did is I picked this property and I worked the numbers so that it was neutrally geared. So what does that mean? I've just, out of that 241 grand I've got, I put extra cash in to the property to make sure that it's neutrally geared or positive geared by $1, for example. So I'm using some loose numbers. So you can see here, and I've made it so that it's cash in my pocket weekly of $2 a week. What this figure shows here is how much better off I'm going to be if I sell the old property and buy this property. So I'm still going to be $11,500 better off per year. Actually, it's a little bit more because I haven't adjusted that percent figure up. It should be 6% now. So actually, I'm almost swapping like for like. Obviously, the property is not the same property. It's not as expensive as the property that I own currently. I'm getting a neutrally geared property and I'm $11,500 per year better off. So the way I look at it is, in that scenario, I'm still better off because I can filter that $11,500 per year back into my offset account, and that's obviously going to compound over the years. If I decide to do nothing, it's just going to mean that I pay my home loan off quicker. If I decide to pull the trigger at any time and buy an existing property, I can do that. That's obviously making the assumption that I'll get the loan for the second property. The second property here is basically a rundown of what my position would be if I bought a second property exactly like the one I just explained in sale, which is neutrally geared as well. I would still be in a better position cash flow wise. I'd still be $6,000 per year better off than if I own my existing property. I think it's actually amazing what you can do if you just try and analyze the numbers a little bit. So I guess the reason here why I explained to you the second part of the spreadsheet, which is buying the investment properties, is to show you that just because you've done one thing one way and maybe it's not working for you, you don't have to stick to your guns. You can reanalyze the system, restructure to make something work for you. There's this mindset in Australia of, oh no, we'll just buy a property and we'll sit there, we'll buy and hold. I get it. And I actually understand and actually agree with that sentiment. But by the same token, there's nothing wrong with analyzing your actual position and questioning what your actual strategy is. And if your answers are, no, I'm going to hold onto my existing strategy, that's great, because it just gives you more justification as to what your existing strategy is. If it leads you to a better answer and you follow that answer, you make your changes, that's also great. That's the video for today, guys. Cheers.